Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Welcome to Life Recovery Today. Steve Arterburn here. Really glad you've joined us today. We have a two-part series. One is the woman and the other is the man. Next week we'll have the husband, and there's been unfaithfulness and betrayal, and you'll never believe what's come out of all of that. It's just going to be a great interview. But it's the kind of thing we like to talk about here. When good things come out of really crummy things, then we see God at work. I want to talk to you about surrender. I don't think we can ever talk enough or too much about surrender. You know, a truly surrendered person says, I am willing to do anything, give up anything, go all out, do everything as if the problem is the ultimate priority, because it is. I mean, that is surrendering to a recovery agenda no matter what comes up. James wrote an amazing verse. I love this verse in James 3:17. It says this, the wisdom from above is first of all pure. It's also peace-loving, gentle at all times, willing to yield to others. It's full of mercy and the fruit of good deeds. It shows not favoritism, and it's always sincere. Now, you know, some people have said that knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, but that wisdom is knowing not to put tomatoes in a fruit salad. Doesn't taste very good. Well, here we're seeing evidence of wisdom also. And so when a person says to me that the other person they live with is the big problem, and we start to look at the response or the reaction to that big problem, and we see there isn't much of a peace-loving nature. There isn't much gentleness, not much willingness, not much mercy. We can see that there is a big, big problem. So we want to have the attitude of Christ as we surrender, but we want to do the tough thing so that in the end there is really an opportunity for God to do the work that God will not do with a stubborn, cold, hard heart. So I'd ask you to just consider the surrender level in which you live. Kind of, some are totally surrendered. Well, that's what we're going to focus on here, because until our guest Laura surrendered, nothing was going to get better. But fortunately, it did. We'll take a break. We'll come right back with more of Life Recovery Today.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net.
Hi, welcome back to Life Recovery Today. Laura Mangan McDonald. She has worked with us in our intensives, and we have loved having her there. She's a professional counselor, licensed counselor there in Texas. And every time I see her smiling face, it just makes me feel a little bit better. Laura, welcome to Life Recovery Today.
Well, thank you, Steve, for having me.
I was joking with you earlier that next week we have your husband on to verify that everything you say this week is true, but we don't need that. But we are going to hear two different perspectives on the development of a problem, God's intervention, and transformation and recovery. But I want some folks to be able to relate to the situation that you were in when things weren't going well. I want a woman to be able to feel what you felt, because many women that watch this they're going through the same thing, and they haven't really identified why they feel this way or decided what to do because they feel this way. So what did it feel like when you knew something was going wrong, but the solution wasn't in just yet?
Well, if someone could describe being blown up beyond a million pieces and just into dust, that's what it felt like. It was like if the enemy came and exploded me in his hand and then went, and I became dust.
Well, that's quite a picture you've got there.
Yeah.
What was going on, and how did you discover that things weren't well?
Well, it's one of those, I call it a crazy God thing. He literally dropped stuff in my lap that I would have had no way to have known or had evidence of. But
what's an example of that you feel like God just led you to the truth?
What happened, first of all, was Rod, out of the blue, at 17 years into marriage, said, I don't think we're getting along, and I'm going to go stay at our friend's place and think, which was absolutely absurd. We had, in 17 years, never had any conversation like that. So I was like, what? This is crazy talk. What? And I never even heard him have crazy talk. But immediately I knew that something was going on, and it wasn't good. So I immediately enlisted the help of our best friends. We had been blessed to have a group of people, always, to keep it in the light, bring it in the light. And I immediately sent up the SOS flare that I needed help. And I had friends to come in, good, solid Christian couples that we'd been doing life with, came in and rallied around me to go, what's going on here? And of course, everybody wants to give someone, love covers.
Yeah.
Well, love also has common sense.
Well, what was going on?
Well, he was having an emotional affair with a girl the age of our daughters in our small group at church. And I had seen it months earlier. And I said, I don't like what I see. Because I'm pretty astute in observing things. And I'm going, something's not good here. And he just minimized it. And I kept on bringing it back up. Well, sure enough, I was right.
Wow. That had to be devastating to know, number one, he's unfaithful and has another female in his life, but that she's the age of your daughters. That's pretty devastating.
That was insult to injury. And Steve, I would have argued. Nothing's perfect, but one thing I knew and I stood on was that I would have argued with the world that Rod would have never, ever in a million years have betrayed me. I would have argued. I would say, bring on, I'll argue with the world. No way. And that was the devastating piece.
So you had people around you, and how long was it before you discovered there was a problem and you decided, I'm going to make some demands here?
Well, it was pretty immediate. It was within 11 days that, from when he said that I'm going to go, get some space, which was just, again, still, even hearing myself say it to this day, and as much progress as we've made and healed, it's still so bizarre. But I also enlisted the help of our church, and we have an incredible church and close to our pastoral staff, and the pastors contacted him directly, and her.
And when you, how old was this young woman that you had to deal with?
She was 35.
35. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you made a demand. What did you demand of him in your fear but courage?
Well, I demanded that, the relationship immediately stop, and that that we go into counseling, and that if we were going to save the marriage, right? But it was here's the crazy component of it. And this is why we need sound advice and wisdom. We need an army around us to help us with our blind spots, with the uniqueness of a situation, right? Because Rod was only overtly complying, and I knew him well enough to know that he was.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy part. In the stand up and demand, the Lord, and this is where people get this all wrong many times, I think we Christianize it, is the Lord was showing me how to stand firm, but to love him where he was. And so one of the big banners that came out of that was, I loved him the most when he loved me the least. But that reality didn't mean that I didn't have strong boundaries.
Well, I think this is so important for people to get this, and because you really were reflecting exactly how God deals with us. He doesn't ever vacillate over what's right, wrong, whatever. But he's for us, and he loves us, but he's not gonna lower the standard for us. And
right.
So you continued to love, which a lot of people don't. They're so hurt and wounded. It's just all anger and bitterness. But you said, I'm going to love him, but I'm going to hold steady to the boundaries. How did he respond to that?
Right. I mean, Steve, there were many nights. I mean, I sit with, just tears streaming down my face going, I'm loving you the most when you're loving me the least. Yeah. But right now, live time, I am growing stronger. I mean, so the Lord was doing a great work in me too. Even though I had been the victim of a circumstance, it was still my responsibility to guard my heart and do something. But the Lord did far greater in me than I could have. I mean, it blew my mind because it was like live time. Like you see the Hulk go, I mean, inside of me, the who I am in Christ was like being felt live time, as the tears were streaming down my face, saying this to him.
Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we want to talk about where things headed after getting some help, where they ended up, and how you really turned this into a transformative time, and now you're helping other people with the same problem, and we're glad that you do that with New Life. So we'll take this break. In the meantime, if you need a resource like a Life Recovery Bible or one of the workbooks, please call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We can help you with that. We'll be back after this.
It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis, someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. We're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. We are here with Laura Mangin McDonald. She is a licensed professional counselor there in Texas. She's explained that the husband, and he'll be on next week, well, he was involved with somebody emotionally who was the same age as their daughters. Okay, so what did you guys do to get better?
Well, we enlisted all the resources that, because we were going down, right? So we signed up for a New Life Intimacy and Marriage with you and Mylan and Kay, which was incredible. We had was seeing a New Life counselor. We had our friends were meeting with Rod weekly. I was meeting with my friends weekly. We were doing the step work. We were just pray. Doing everything. We had, the crazy thing about it was we'd already done a lot of these things as a way of life, but now we were intensely focused as hanging on for life to get through this storm.
Now, was he into it and really doing the work from the beginning?
No, it took a year, and
Okay.
It was the longest year of my life.
Oh, wow. I bet so. Yeah.
But I kept on taking care of myself.
Yeah. And so he was getting counseling separate, and you were separate, and then you were getting it together.
Yes, so we were in 3 to 4 hours of counseling a week.
Wow. Okay. All right. And so it got better. What was that like? What happened that it got better? One day did you see a new man? He was all changed, or was it gradual? How did you know?
It's the greatest relief was the safety to be honest. And because without the honesty, we can't have an intimate relationship, right? And to this day, I thank the Lord every day that even though the hard talks have to happen because that's life, but that when honesty can be present, it's incredible.
So
you know that you can get through it.
So when things got back together, you guys started healing together. I mean, it was a whole new marriage. Tell us about what things are like now in the marriage. What has it become?
The safety, when we can show up as we are. Remember that old show Friends, come as you are, or a safe place home or something like that. But it's just a safe place. I can be me. I can be my excited self, scared self. I can tell him if I'm triggered by something. Honesty is the foundation, and he's the same. And even though I would never sign up for this in 100 years, to have what we have now is been worth the blood, sweat, and tears in a crazy way. It's a Genesis 50:20. God took what was intended to wipe us out, and he just catapulted us forward.
Well, there's so many stories like yours where both people working a recovery program, and then literally able to say, because of this disaster, we have a marriage that we never would have had. It doesn't excuse what happened, but you've turned and transformed the marriage into something that would have never been there because both of you did the work. Now you're working with people like you work with us in our intensives for intimacy and marriage. Now you're helping other people that have been through what you've been through, right?
Yes. And like I said, these lifetime hours and experience in this type of betrayal trauma the Lord is not wasted any of that pain. And I am able to go in quickly, like a surgical procedure, and go, here's what's going on. And I do a lot of intensives with couples. So this is not wasted one bit. Yeah.
Well, I think it really gives you tremendous insight what you've been through, especially from the perspective of 17 years, and then he makes this move to separate, and you had no idea. So when somebody comes to you, and let's just say it is your exact scenario, he's doing something, she's not aware of it, the woman knows something's not right, what does that person need to do first, second, and third? You suspect it, don't have any proof, but you just know it's not right. What are the priorities to accomplish?
Well, first, to not dismiss the instincts, the God-given instincts, something's amiss here. And to inquire, to say, I've noticed, I feel. If that's dismissed, then, and of course, this is always praying, asking the Lord for discernment, but then to take it to someone who has godly insight and go, hey, here's what I'm sensing, right? What do you think, to get that second set of eyes? And then the third thing is to begin to be cognizant and aware, have a heightened awareness, because God is almost hilarious in how he will drop things in our lap and take us, or put a word in our heart. But he's there 24/7 to help us, along with good godly friends.
And one of the things I love about you is you have this strong faith. It's not a baby faith, or it's not naive. You're well aware, but it's a tremendous amount of faith, and I love that. Now,
Thank you.
Do you ever kind of get angry again about all of that, or feel pain from it ever?
Absolutely. Because, trauma, it changes the molecular structure of our cells, right? It goes deep, and triggers take a time to work through. However, when there's a safe place to have that trigger, honestly, to be totally vulnerable, even going over our stories, and getting up this, I'm reading it going, well, yeah. And you did this, and we have the safety in our relationship to say, I'll say, that person triggers me, or that triggered me, what you just did. But welcoming that anger in a safe place to where it can be comforted, consoled, and reassured, because that's what the anger is. It's a protest.
Yeah. Well, encouragement from you to somebody that needs to do something. What would that encouragement be?
That I first get that you're totally scared, and people don't want to push. They're afraid that they will push someone away. And I'll go, if you were as powerful enough to push someone away, you would be powerful enough to keep them where they are. So you can take that off the table, right? And then to say, you know what, you can get through this if you make honesty a full-time job. It has to be honest. You cannot just think, oh, that doesn't matter. We don't want to talk about that. That's uncomfortable. Every stone has to be turned over. And then with that brings the assurance that there's nothing lurking, right? And that with God's help, with his people, and when we participate in the promise, we are promised to get on the other side with a great victory. Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, thanks for sharing this. Now you're helping other people. It's the completion of transformation. We appreciate you at New Life. And if anybody wants information about Laura and what she's been through, or maybe to get some help from Laura, you can just email us at newlife.com. But I'm so thankful that she didn't shut down and close up shop and say, oh, can't ever help anybody anymore. She is helping people with deeper insight, purpose, and meaning than if this had never happened. And you heard her say that the thing that happened got them out of all the stuff they were in to experience a marriage they never would have had. We'll come back right after this.
Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit liferecoverytoday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. I think that if you were to know Laura and her husband, you would see that there's a certain strength in her and a certain peace in her that a lot of people never get to experience. You know, peace doesn't come about by somebody projecting their problem onto the other person. And it's so easy to do. We start to think that our problem is their problem, or our problem is caused by them. Whatever it is, we are not realistic about the source of the problem. And so we're not going to feel peace. We're not going to be at peace with ourselves if we're out there just putting it on to the other person. Very easy to do. And there are certain personality traits or conditions or disorders where a person simply cannot see what they're doing. They're blind to it. And you could say, from a simplistic standpoint, if they ever saw what was really there, they would just shut down and feel total hopelessness and helplessness. Also, you know, peace doesn't come from just being passive about everything, trying to placate everybody. And if we're just keeping the peace when there's some really, really tough things going on, things that need to be addressed, then that's not going to bring peace to our lives. You know, Jesus, it's said, is the Prince of Peace. And we have to ask ourselves, what did Jesus do? He looked at the reality, he acted upon whatever the reality was, and he saved the world by sacrificing, because that was a pretty tough reality in those days in which he lived. So perhaps if we want to be like Jesus, we have to ask ourselves, is anything going to make this better? And what does make it better is when we finally surrender all of the things we've been doing, all of the home remedies, all of those different strategies that have not worked. When we start to eliminate that, then we can ask God to give us the peace that He has for us that passes all understanding. One of the greatest gifts in the 12 gifts of life recovery is the gift of peace. And if you don't have peace, then maybe you could call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and let us help you find it by eliminating whatever is causing the struggle. Thanks for joining me. We will be here again next week. And I'm so grateful to get to be with you in Life Recovery Today.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.